Oh, hello. We're here today to do the mid-year freakout tag because it's that time of year again. Despite me being pretty slumpy lately, I just don't feel like it. It doesn't feel like we're in July, like June, July, unless we do this tag. So it's gonna be kind of a weird one because a lot of what I'm gonna talk to you guys about I read in the earlier part of the year, and that feels like a distant memory. But I think even just getting my like thoughts together for this was helpful in clarifying for me of like doing a little bit of resetting on where I am and kind of readjusting my plans for the rest of the year. So let's do the tag. I've got the questions and the originators in the description box. I should. Hopefully future Mara got her act together to do that. Okay. Best book you've read so far in 2024. Oh, that's the other thing. I run my best of the year lists from December to November. And so this was weird to do because so many of my best ofs were last December. So I haven't technically told you guys about those yet as favorites of the year. I think of them as being in 2024, but they technically aren't. So those are disqualified, but you'll hear about them at the end of the year. Okay, anyway, for things I actually read in 2024, the best book I read so far was A Problem from Hell, America and the Age of Genocide by Samantha Power. This is heartbreaking, it's thought-provoking, it has a lot to engage with, you know, wherever you end up falling with some of the questions it suggests. I think it's a very interesting and heartbreaking history, and definitely like gave me a lot to think about. This was a lot to read and a lot to process. It is nonfiction, which I know, oh my gosh. These election texts are out of control, guys, constantly. Ugh, I block them every time and still somehow they continue to find me. Okay, anyway, sorry. Yeah, nonfiction, I know that's not for everyone, but if you can deal with that and this is a topic you are interested in, highly recommend. I did this as audio and reading, like doing a dual read basically, and I thought the audio was perfectly fine, so I can recommend that to you. Okay, so there's that. Number 2 is best sequel I've read so far. I kind of was up in the air about what to pick because I wasn't sure if spin-off series could be counted as sequels, in which case I'd have a different answer. But if we're talking like strictly a sequel, I'm gonna say Everyone on This Train is a Suspect by Benjamin Stevenson. I enjoyed the first book. I gave it 4 stars, so I liked Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, but I think that this is markedly better in terms of its writing quality, and therefore I liked it a lot better. I also think pacing-wise, this worked a little bit better for me. Plus, I am an absolute sucker for an isolated close-circle mystery, which murders on trains and boats kind of by default are. So yeah, this was just for me, and I thought it had a really interesting couple of like twists towards the end that were fun, and this was just a fun book that was better written than its predecessor, so for that, I commend it. New releases you haven't read yet but want to. I'm gonna say the 4 books I pre-ordered before June 30th that have arrived but I've not yet read, I'm gonna pick as my answers for this. So Voyage of the Damned by Frances White. I believe that this is now available in the US, so I could have just waited, but at the time it was not, so I pre-ordered it from the UK, plus it's so beautiful. Look at that. Ugh. I'm gonna also save this for an answer for later. So I haven't read that one yet. The Mystery Writer by Sulari Gentle. I loved, oh God, the library one. What was that called? Woman in the Library. There you go. I love that one. I thought that After She Wrote Him was interesting, but wasn't my favorite. So we'll see how I fare with this one, but definitely an author I know that I appreciate their creativity, if nothing else. The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Turton. This is my pick for book club, for the Blades and Bodice Ripper book club, and that will be happening, I believe we had to move it to the first week of August. I need to schedule that. But that will be here on the channel, so if you want to read this along with us, you can do that at the end of the month. But this is definitely one I've been saving up and am looking forward to getting to. And then another one, I think I did this because I was already making a Waterstones order, so I was like, what the hell. Speaking of hell and death, which it has like a floor plan sitch on the front. It's some kind of murder mystery thing, and yeah, it's Viper's the UK publisher who also publishes Janice Hallett, who's the answer to one of the questions on here. So that was why I was intrigued there. So those are some that I have not yet read, but I'm looking forward to, that came out this year. In terms of my most anticipated release for the rest of the year, which is question number 4, I'm gonna have to say We Solve Murders by Richard Osman. This is the start of a new series. I purposely did not request an ARC because I just want to enjoy it as it is when it arrives. It is, I believe, coming out in September. I've got the audio on pre-order because that's how I've done best with him in the past, and I cannot wait. Very excited for that book. Biggest disappointment, I am going to say, stack of books around. I'm gonna say a book that I did not dislike, but I had high hopes for, and I only gave this 3 stars, and I'm gonna unhaul it. So in that sense, I think it's kind of definitionally disappointing, and that is Chain Gang All-Stars by Nana Kwame Adije Brenya. This is, like I said, it's not bad. I just don't think the project worked for a novel. It read like a short story. Like the premise and writing would have been better supported in short story format than a full novel, in my opinion. So I think that this, either it could have been interconnected short stories, which I think could have been really interesting, and maybe that is the approach I would suggest, or just like straight up a short story / novella of what's being told here. I just don't think it worked for me as a novel, and that kind of bummed me out because I was expecting to love this. So yeah, disappointment. I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Biggest surprise, I'm going to say this is like a weird book, and I was expecting some kind of isolated closed circle mystery horror thing, but it's just such a weird book that I loved. It's Leech by Huron and Inez, and this is 4.5 stars. That's what I gave this. It is weird. It's got lots of like parasite stuff, so if you don't like that kind of body horror, be forewarned. It has a collective like hive mind consciousness in it, so that makes the narration really interesting. And then it has purposeful disorientation, which is one of my favorite things in books when it's done well. So yeah, this was great, and I knew going into it, it was a very strong flavor, so I just wasn't sure how I would do with it, and I was very pleasantly surprised at how much I ended up liking this. And then new favorite author. So I'm not going to say an all-time favorite author because those are kind of rarer proclamations from me, but I would say an author that I would firmly now put into auto-buy territory is Janice Hallett, who I mentioned earlier. She is writing multimedia mysteries that are really, they're mysteries. And they're inventive, it feels fresh. She is, I think, hearkening back to a kind of vein of mystery writing, which frames itself very much as a puzzle that the reader is supposed to be solving, which I think is less the focus in our kind of like current mystery book landscape. But if you look at like the classical age of murder mysteries, that was definitely a very prominent kind of like approach to the genre of less focus on the writing and much more focus on it as a puzzle, like the work as a puzzle versus the work as a book. And I do think her writing is good. Like I like her writing. It's not some books like that. It's like, oh gosh, okay, I'm kind of dealing with the writing because I like the story. Not the case here at all. I really like her writing and her setups and her characters. But I just think her approach to mysteries is really fun, and I'm excited because The Examiner, which comes out in the fall, which I do have an arc for, and you'll hear about my plans to read it, but it is getting a US release, and I believe this is the first of her books that's going to get a US-UK simultaneous release. So that I think is a good sign that her stuff is being well received, and that makes me really happy because I'm really loving it. I say before having read this next book, but I'm very excited about that. Number 8 is newest fictional crush. I didn't really have an answer for that this year, so we're just gonna skip it. And then newest favorite character, I'm gonna say Sweet Little Garlic from Garlic and the Vampire. Garlic makes a second appearance in Garlic and the Witch, which is the sequel. I think the sequel was cute, but not as successful, so your mileage may vary, but I still enjoyed it. This is about an anxious little garlic bulb person. It's just adorable. Garlic is so cute. I think she's a she. She might be she, they, but it's just a delight. And it's about anxiety and how to overcome anxiety to do something that you really like have conviction to do. And I think that that's very sweet. And I really love Little Garlic. Very sweet. This is middle grade fantasy graphic novel, by the way. Opposite vibe-wise is books that made you cry. And I'm not sure if I actually cried, but like the book that bummed me out the most because it was such an intense headspace to be in is Tell Me I'm Worthless by Alison Rumfitt. The content warning the author puts at the beginning is that this is about transphobia and fascism, and that is very much what it is. There's a lot of sort of like internalized transphobia that the author is exploring in the main character, so be forewarned there. It's a very intense and downer mindset to be in, but I think the author conveys it really well, and there's just a lot of really heavy subject matter in this that made it definitely a bummer, but a very worthwhile read. It's a horror novel, and it is horrifying, so mission accomplished there. Books that made you happy, I'm gonna say a romance for this one. So The Duke Who Didn't by Courtney Milan. This was just like low angst historical romance. We have a biracial Asian duke, this woman in this community of Chinese immigrants. He thinks she doesn't know that he's the duke. And so he's like, I want to marry this person, but like, how do I convince her to marry me? And then also, how do I tell her that I'm also the duke? And I've been lying to her about this the whole time. And it's just very jolly japes. It made me like kick my feet in delight. And it just made me happy. It was a lovely little delight of a book. Then the most beautiful book I've bought so far this year. So I've got 3 pulls. First, I'm going to go back to Voyage of the Damned because damn, look how gorgeous this foiling is. This is a mystery set in space, I believe, or maybe it's like magic. It's speculative. Yeah, I can't wait. I've heard good things. I'm looking forward to reading this. Special edition wise, I did get the new Puffin and Bloom trilogy of Jane Austen books. I like this Pride and Prejudice one in particular that looks sort of like, kind of like a cross-stitch, needle-pointy kind of vibe. And then my obsession this year is knitting, and I've gotten a lot of beautiful knitting books, but I thought I would mention Tudor Roses. I just think this is so cool. It's like trying to translate Tudor-era women's costume into knitted garments, which I think is so cool. This is not size inclusive, so I'm gonna have to do some grading, but I cannot wait to get to a level where I feel like I can do the grading and also can do justice to how beautiful some of these patterns are. But they did a really cool, they like kind of interpreted different portraiture of these women into contemporary, like, you know, modern knitwear, and did like jewelry and hairstyling and stuff. So I just thought this was a really cool book. And then what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Okay, so here's my current thought process. I think I just need to go full ham on comfort reading. So I have some arcs still. Luckily, I think almost all of them are in comfort genres for me, so I don't think it'll be a problem. Like, I have the new Lindsay Sands historical romance. I have Ruby Dixon's new mainstream monster romance that's like a minotaur. So I've got a lot of arcs that I think are right in my wheelhouse of comfort reading anyway. So I'm gonna finish that. I don't know that I'm gonna request any more because I just don't think I need that pressure. And I am just gonna I think I'm leaning into comfort reads. Like genre-wise, I'm not going to be pushing myself, at least for the next couple of months. There's going to be a lot of mysteries. There's going to be a lot of romance, speculative romance. There's going to be like cozy fantasy or speculative mysteries or what. I mean, we're just gonna get back to basics because I'm not having the impulse to read. I'm doing better when I am reading of being immersed, which was a problem for a couple months. I am back to being able to be immersed, but the impulse to pick a book up is not there. So I'm hoping some comfort and palate cleansing reads will be good for me. So that's really my main plan for this year, for the foreseeable future. I also have some series that I'm working on making progress in, but honestly, that will be a secondary goal to just like getting back in the mood to read. So with all that being said, I think that's my mid-year freakout tag. Let me know how your reading's going this year, if you're also slumping or if you're doing more than I am in reading. Let me know that. Let me know what you thought about any of the books I talked about. And yeah, I think that will do it for me. So if you enjoyed this video, I guess like and subscribe. I feel like right now I can't promise you how often I'll be posting, but sure, hit the bell, like it, all that stuff. And yeah, I hope I will talk to you guys again soon and that you are having an absolutely lovely day.